Perry Pencil.
Hello, this is Perry Pencil, and this week's episode I'm going to be drawing Boba Fett from Star Wars. The request was made by Fangblood25333. I want to thank him today for having me put this on a list as one of the characters I'm going to be drawing. And of course, this is one of the major fan favorite characters from Star Wars. So let's get started. Alright, as I always like to start out, finding your place. In this case, Boba Fett has something that he wears on his shoulders that extend past where his head is, so you can go ahead on and put a line and divide your page in half. Bring his head down maybe about an inch or an inch and a half. Go ahead and lay in your oval shape for your head. And I always place another oval directly under the head. Usually, however long you make it, it depends on how long the character's neck will be. And I usually divide that in half with a simple line that goes through that for the shoulders. And for this particular pose, he's going to be looking forward, but his body's going to be somewhat three-quartered. So his body's going to be facing more towards the right, and his head's going to be looking straight directly towards you. Now let's begin our measurements. I usually measure by the head and turn your hand to the side using your index finger and your thumb. Notice I slid it over and used the center line to get the width of both of his shoulders. And I always like to put in what I call the hanger. The hanger is a triangular shape, 3, and then we can move on down to his shoulders. If you notice, I'm sketching in 2 circles, one for the right and one for the left. And then I'm going to immediately put his torso in. The torso usually is an oval or half shape of a square, and usually go down to about the waist. Now, you're putting his right arm in, and I'm using cylinders for the shape. For those of you beginners and wanting to know what shapes go for the bicep and tricep, that would be cylinder shapes. And that's placed directly under the circle that I have for both shoulders. And then of course there's circles on both elbows. And then we go right into the forearm. Alright, let me move that right arm. I don't like both arms going in. Some would have the left arm bent and the right arm go straight down off the page. Now we're going to move up to his helmet. And for his helmet, we're just simply going to do a half oval shape and go straight down. Do the same thing for his left side. It's very similar somewhat to Darth Vader's helmet. It's just that Darth Vader's helmet flares out at the bottom towards the neck. With Boba Fett's helmet, it just simply goes straight down. Once we got the shape of the helmet, we can go ahead and put the visor, or the front portion where he looks through. And that just simply goes straight across, or somewhat on an arc, because you want it to look like it's rounded on the helmet slightly. Put a line down on the right and then the left. And then go ahead on and curve the bottom portion into the front part of the mask. Notice I'm using the center line as a guide. I'm going to curve that line in a little bit more to match the right side. And once you have this overall shape, you can go ahead and go into the interior, or the inside part of the visor, which he's looking through on the helmet, and just bring that line in. Then come over to the center, somewhat on a slant on both sides, and then have 2 lines come down and meet the bottom of the front of his helmet. Now once that's completed, go ahead and start to put additional pieces on the side. It's almost like it's an additional part of his helmet where he probably, I not really sure, but looks like he communicates through some kind of device on the side of his head. Then underneath the bottom portion of his helmet, he has two arcs that comes from the side of the visor to the edge of the helmet on both sides, right and left. I'm going to move to another detail on the other side. Is kind of like an antenna on his right side. And it's just a simple rectangular shape. Divide that in half and then come down a little bit towards the bottom of the helmet. Close it off. Now this right here just requires a straight line, so you just want to do it as straight as possible. Of course, when it comes to doing freehand penciling, you can always just kind of refine the line and go as straight as possible. And then do the other side and close it off. Now the top of this antenna piece is more like a rectangular shape, and then it's a small portion of it that goes back into space, and there's a little piece under the side of that. Now for his neck, it's pretty much covered, and it almost looks like it's just a portion of the outfit that he's wearing, so it has some flex folds in it. So you just can do some arcs or some curves and then suggest that that's around his neck. We'll move over to his shoulder pad. And that is going to come across the top portion of his torso. And I just realized that it is centered, so let's let that shoulder portion look more centered. And if you notice, every now and again, if you make minor mistakes, is okay. If you notice, I have guidelines here that is on his chest, the 3/4 line, and then the line that's in the center. I'm going to move on down now to part of the plates that's on his upper body. Then there's another line that comes into the center of where the center line is, or the 3/4 line that I have here. And these are some simple shapes that you can do for Boba Fett's. Looks like he has armor that covers the front portion of his body. And just make sure the right to left matches as much as possible. Notice I'm constantly working from right to left and then from left to right. Just a simple tip here: when you work one side of the body too much, you can kind of lose a sense of what it looks like in relation to the other side of the body. So I usually dance back and forth between the two. It helps me match one side to the other a little better. And again, feel free at any given time you need to pause this video for complicated shapes like this one that's on his chest and torso, and then that way you can follow the shapes that I'm doing here. And here in the center he has like a diamond shape here. And then within that diamond shape is a rectangular shape. On his left side of his the plate on his chest, he has two simple slots. One is thin and one is a little bit thicker. Here I'm going to start to put in some of the shoulder for his plate that he has on the shoulder. He has shoulder pads. He has little minor details on top of his shoulder there. Now with the shoulder pad is more square. It's a square shape, so there's a simple angles. I'm gonna put, you don't see it as much on the right as you do on the left, because again his the right side of his body is going away from you back into space slightly. So if you notice, I'm referencing from right to left to see where the left shoulder pad should come into play. Notice here I'm looking at the top and I'm sliding my pencil over, and now I know where I need to put the left shoulder pad. And this is a measuring tool for freehand drawing, where now I know where I need to put the left shoulder pad in based on where right in relation to the right pad. I'm going to put some folds in here. And of course he's wearing fabric, so we're not going to see any muscle tone. And so in this case, what you want to do is you want to add flexion folds or fabric folds on the character. Putting in some light wrinkles. And now I've moved over to work on the bottom portion of the plate on his torso down to his waist. And this is what he's wearing under his chest plate. And here I'm putting in, as his arm is bending, some wrinkles. And he does wear a cape, so that's the beginning part of the cape on the other side of his left arm. And I'm going to start putting some detail on his right arm. More flexion folds or wrinkles. And most of the time it's filler when you see there's sketching going on just to add some details in. Now we're going to work on a rocket or a missile head that's on the top of his backpack. It looks like it's coming out of his shoulder, but it's actually on his back. And there are the other two minor detail dials that's on his shoulder. And now I'm putting in the rocket head, the head of the rocket or missile. It's a little piece that comes down there. And these are simple arcs that overlap one another for that shape. And then of course the missile head. Now for his forearm, we're going to add, he's usually wearing, usually shoots projectiles out of it, and more or less like squares that's on his forearms. But because it's going off the page, there's very little detail to add. I'm going to finish off his cape here. Now, overall, if you follow me up to this point, you've just drawn Boba Fett. I'm going to clean it up, make it look all nice, and at the end, you can take a look at it and pause it.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe by pressing this round button at the bottom. Also, click on one of the 2 top videos at the top. Please like this video, tell a friend, and share it on Facebook. Thank you. Perry Pencil.